Phoenix Championship weekend. We have a lot to talk about, including let me pull up our three champs, the good pictures of our three champs right here. We'll talk about Cory Heim, Jesse Love, and Kyle Larson being a two-time Cup Series champion on today's program. But of course, like every week, I am joined by the Pacecar boys of Tyler and Cory. Tyler, how are we doing today? I appreciate the Denny Hamlin wear. I appreciate the support. And the Patriots might be the best team in football. And I think your connection's messing up again, Tyler. I don't know what's going on with that. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Yeah, your voice is like delayed for some reason. I don't know what's going on there. So apologize for that. We'll try to get Tyler in here in a second. But Cory, how are we doing today? I assume you've been just celebrating all week. You've been running in the streets. You've been like Will Ferrell and which movie is that? Fuck, I can't remember. Old School. When he's in Old School, he's like, we're going streaking. I feel like that's been you this whole week. How are we doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. My guy's a champion, two-time,
Two
a little
time.
bit better than Denny Hamlin, I think, doing great. You know, Get to brag all summer, at least or not summer, all the off season, 2 months, ready for three-time next year. I'm kidding. But yeah, life is good. That was an ending I wasn't ready for, and I am excited and happy that it happened.
And we'll, of course, talk about, because all three of us are obviously located here in Arizona, as we've talked about before on the show. We were all in the stands for the race. We were all kind of pulling for different people. I was obviously pulling for Denny. Tyler was really pulling for Willie B at the same time, had like a sentimental pull for Larson and Denny Hamlin. Of course, Cory is the Kyle Larson diehard, the Young Money diehard on the channel. It looks like we have Tyler back in here. Let's see if how are we doing, Tyler? I don't know what's going on. Your voice just doesn't come through. I don't know. Is your mic? I don't know what's going on. Your voice, your video is fine. Your video is completely fine. That's what's being weird about this. Your video is fine. No lagging with the video. Maybe your mic isn't hooked up at the moment because I'm not hearing you at all. God damn it, Bobby. But we'll try to figure that out for you. But overall, an entertaining weekend. Could have been, I think, worse in some ways because we could have had a different champion on Friday night in the Truck Series. We ended up having Cory Heim win his first Craftsman Truck Series championship on Friday night in the desert at Phoenix Raceway. Cory Heim racing for Tricon Garage for Toyota. His crew chief this season was Scott Zippadelli, the younger Zippy. 12 race wins on the season, 19 stage wins, which is freaking nuts. 7 poles, 19 top fives, 21 top tens in 25 races, 0 DNFs. 1,627 laps led on the season. There were only 3,842 laps on the year in total. Just an amazing season. And he averaged a 5th place finish. Just an amazing job from Cory Heim. Heim time. Able to get that first Craftsman Truck Series championship. First championship in the NASCAR ranks. We still don't know what he's going to
Cory,
end
can
up.
you hear me?
We still don't know what he's going to end up doing next season. I can hear you, Tyler. Uh,
Yeah.
we still don't know what he is doing next season, which is very frustrating. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, in a little more detail. But I want to get the thoughts from the boys. I guess we'll start with Tyler here, while Tyler can talk to us. Sorry about that, Tyler. But Tyler, Heim time getting that championship. What were your thoughts in the stands? Watching that and Heim time actually being able to complete an amazing season. Almost won half the races. Won 12 out of the 25 races.
Friday night was 100% a full moon, man. Like, it was the night and the only night that we left feeling like everything was great, everything was good. The crowd reacted like it was supposed to react. everything just felt good. Like it was a good race. It was the entire race was probably one of the best Truck Series races we've seen in Phoenix in a long time. In a long, long time. Like 7 wide. Are you kidding me?
Oh yeah.
Like, no, that all of it was just so good. It was all so good. And that truck race was the best championship I've seen in a long time from anybody. And I got to see Justin last year live. So, no, that championship was the most deserved championship we've seen in a long, long time.
Yeah, I don't think there could be a more deserving championship. Obviously, Zilisch with the Xfinity Series race, but I would say Heim was even more deserving than him. It was just pure domination all season. Like I said, the guy averaged a fifth place finish, a 5.0. That is freaking insane. Won 12 out of the 25 races. And we still don't know what he's doing next year. I think it would have been completely criminal if he didn't end up winning that championship. It must have been a huge relief to see him win that championship. Just awesome moment for Heim time. And Cory, I want to get your thoughts on this. What were your thoughts from the stands watching Heim time complete the season and get the victory at Phoenix?
That was awesome. That was honestly probably the best night of the weekend when it comes down to it, because the deserved, it's hard to say that word, but the deserved champion, because Corey Heim was the deserving champion. It was locked. It should have been locked before that race. And he pulled a 7 wide badass move to seal the deal and become a champion. Honestly, I don't know. That's the top moment. That was the top moment of the weekend.
Yeah.
Right there. It was sure will going from 10th to win the championship was badass. And it's the cherry on top for the season, because Corey Heim dominated, like you said, top 5 average or 5th place average is crazy. So I don't know. That night was perfect because we thought he lost it. We were ready to be angry, and then he pulled it off. So I don't know. Friday was awesome.
Yeah, one thing that I really enjoyed, like I said, Heim time, I felt like was the deserving champion from the season. Just had the perfect year, pretty much. Just dominated so many races, led every single race of the season, led every race. He ended up leading all 25 races. He led at least one lap in every race of the whole entire season, which is just pure insanity to me. And you kind of talked about it a little bit there, Cory, and Tyler kind of talked about it a little bit there, how it was actually a really good Truck Series race. And I feel like the end of that race could have very easily became a complete and utter shit show. I think I was in the stands. I'm like, fuck, like Heim's not going to win. They're all going to wreck. Like, who knows who's going to win at this point? I don't know who's going to win. And they ended up keeping it fairly clean, especially for the Truck Series. I just expected it to just really, really hit the fan at the end of that race. And luckily, and very good thing to see it keep clean. And Corey Heim time gets that first Craftsman Truck Series championship. And like I said, later on in the show, we'll talk a little bit more about what his potential future may be, and we at least know where he's not going, and we've talked about it for a couple months, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But Heim time gets that Truck Series championship, and hopefully he can carry this into the future and have a great 2026, even though we don't know where he's going yet. But let me know your thoughts in the comments, in the replies. What do you think about Corey Heim's overall season, almost winning half the races, leading every single lap in every single race, not every single lap in every single race, leading a lap, at least one lap in every single race, I meant to say. Let me know your thoughts on just his overall performance of the season and him getting the championship for 2025. All right, let's move on to our next championship discussion, where we will be discussing Jesse Love. Jesse Love gets his first career Xfinity Series championship with RCR, beating out his best friend, Connor Zilisch, to get the job done. Jesse Love for Chevrolet and Richard Childress Racing. His crew chief is Danny Stockman, who gets another championship in the NASCAR ranks. 2 race wins for Jesse Love, 2 stage wins 4 poles, 9 top 5s, 22 top 10s. That is a great stat right there, to be honest. 22 top 10s on the season. Very impressive. 2 DNFs, 297 laps led on the season, and an average finish of 11.1. And obviously, we are going to discuss about Connor Zilisch, and I kind of want to separate him a little bit because Jesse Love did have a really good season. He did get to the championship 4. He did everything that the rules say you need to do to win the championship. Pretty much took, I would say, more of a Ryan Blaney, not quite a Joey Logano approach, because Joey Logano wasn't all that competitive in his last championship all year. It ended up in the final race and winning the championship. But Ryan Blaney, when he won his championship, was overall competitive throughout the year. Maybe not one of the top 3, top 4 best cars in the field, but ends up doing everything he needs to do, gets the championship, and won the championship by the book, by the rules of the 2025 season, without any hijinks or anything like that, just on pure speed at Phoenix Raceway. Jesse Love gets the championship and beats out Zilisch. And we'll talk about Zilisch in a second, but I want to get the Pacecar boys' thoughts on Jesse Love getting this championship. I guess we'll start with Cory here. Cory, what did you think about Jesse Love getting that championship on Saturday night?
Man, I still don't know how to feel, to be honest. That's the one that still is bitter and feels weird to say. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's obviously completely congratulations to Jesse Love and the 2 team and RCR, but it's, man, I don't know. I think it left every NASCAR fan with a bitter taste in their mouth. And it's not because of Jesse Love and what that team accomplished, but because how shitty this playoff format is and how easily it can be taken advantage of.
Yeah.
But I don't want to go so hard into that. What they did, what they accomplished, his emotions he showed on Tuesday, like
that was pretty cool.
I mean, he played the system how it was designed to be played. It's what Penske did that we hated Penske for, and they pulled it off the right way, and they just happened to take down a juggernaut in Connor Zilisch. So, but no, yeah, it's congrats to them, man. Jesse, obviously, like I thought what Rick Hendrick said to Jesse on Tuesday is probably one of the most badass things I've ever heard someone that big in the industry say. He like got up on stage talking about their championship and then said, "Hey, who's the one crying?" And it was Jesse, and he pointed out Jesse's like, "That's the heart of a champion. Keep it up," pretty much. And I was like, that's hearing that from Rick Hendrick, that's crazy.
That's pretty badass, yeah. I would agree. That's pretty badass and a really cool moment, I would say, from Jesse Love. And Jesse Love definitely has the passion. And we saw him come through the ranks. He was a powerhouse in ARCA, just phenomenal. And that's why we've all of us, I think, at one point in the season have listed him on the top 5 of our young NASCAR superstar power rankings at one point or another, because he's just such a talented kid, and he's just really beginning to learn how. And I said it a couple weeks ago at the beginning of the season. Austin Hill was way better than Jesse Love on the ovals and the short tracks and pretty much everywhere, really. But now, near the end of the season, Jesse Love was all of a sudden doing way better than Austin Hill. I've seen a lot of improvement out of Jesse Love throughout the season, and me personally, and I'll talk about it more when we talk about the Zilisch part of this, but I'm not personally happy with Jesse Love winning the championship either. I don't think he was necessarily the deserving champion, but he did everything when it came to the rules. There was no hijinks or anything crazy happening or anything like that, and ended up getting the victory fair and square, technically, even though I'm not happy about it. Most people aren't happy about it. He got the job done. Tyler, what were your thoughts on all this? Jesse Love getting the championship.
For me, Saturday was probably the most distraught moment of the weekend, for sure. Nothing against Jesse. Like you said, I had him listed as one of my top drivers right under Connor for most of the year. So it's not that I don't find him to be a championship caliber driver.
Yeah.
It's just this year he wasn't. And yet again, we were let down in a moment for somebody that was well-deserved to basically be told, we even the playing field for everybody. You may have won this, but it doesn't matter. We'll give it to him anyway. And for me, I couldn't even watch the final lap. I ended up leaving, and we'll leave what happened for me and then leaving the stands out of this. But
That was me on Sunday.
yeah, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't something I wanted to see. I left distraught. I left just feeling, and I felt it from the whole crowd. It wasn't just me.
Yeah.
We were all filing out, and we all were saying things. We all were disgruntled. We all were bringing up moments that felt like this again, and it wasn't a good feeling that anybody had leaving the track. And it, from somebody that was going, that went there Saturday morning planning to camp to hopefully see any of the junior cars win, to literally having no junior car win, to not even getting to enjoy the last lap, was devastating. And I don't think NASCAR truly understands like how devastating it was for Connor, and not only like Connor fans, but NASCAR fans, because I'm not the biggest fan of Connor Zilisch. I'm not going to be rocking his gear 100% of the time when he comes into the Cup Series, but the kid earned it. That's it. Plain as day. He earned it, and they robbed him. That's it.
And I would agree with that. I think that was the most well-rounded disappointment from the fans. I think the fan sentiment online, obviously the fan sentiment inside the racetrack, was they wanted Zilisch. I think everybody wanted Zilisch. Obviously, Allgaier, a lot of people wanted Allgaier as well. But Zilisch had a very special season, had a dominating season. If they were under the 36 full race format, he would have locked the championship up with like 2 races left, and he missed like a race and a half. So that's impressive. Thanks Parker Kligerman, by the way. But it was very disappointing to see Zilisch not get the job done, which I guess could lead us right into the Zilisch part of this conversation. But it was very disappointing to see Zilisch not get the job done. Like I said, I'm very happy for Jesse. Jesse has a passion for the sport. I think he has the championship caliber in him, but just a very special year from Zilisch. And he's not going to get another chance at an Xfinity Series title. First of all, because it's not going to be the Xfinity Series anymore. It's going to be the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. But he's going Cup racing next year. He's going full-time Cup racing. So we're not going to see him in the secondary series full-time, probably ever. Maybe at the very end of his career when he's like 40 something, or who knows how long he races. But we're not going to be able to see him race for a title in this series again. And he had one of the most special, not just rookie seasons, but one of the most special seasons in Xfinity, Nationwide, Busch, Grand National Series history. Just a phenomenal season from Zilisch, and it's almost heartbreaking to see him not win it. He was very upset getting out of the car. I think a lot of people on pit road gave him good advice and really helped him out. I really respected how, and it once again proves once again my thoughts about Zilisch. He handled it like a champ. Obviously, he was very emotional afterwards, but he went up to congratulate his best friend, Jesse Love. He gave him all his praises. He was singing on stage with them at the NASCAR Awards. And, like, he knows that he has a big future after this. Obviously, I think it was the Bahrain test he got taken out of because of this, which is bullshit. That's bullshit. But just a phenomenal season from Zilisch. Heartbreaking not to see him win the title, but he handled it like a mature champion way past his age. He handled it like a 3-time Cup Series champion at the age of 30. And he's handling it just phenomenal. And just disappointing to not see him win that championship. And I guess I'll lead right into Cory. Cory, what are your thoughts on Zilich's special season, and just overall the way he handled himself losing this championship?
Man, we talked about it last week that like heartbreak was going to happen either on Friday or Saturday because Corey Heim deserved to win on Friday or win the championship on Friday. Connor Zilisch should have won the championship on Saturday. And I walked into it telling you one of them's going to leave heartbroken, and it was Connor. And, dude, like I'm not a humongous like fan of anybody. I like on Saturday I kind of root for a lot of people, but as a NASCAR fan, it just didn't feel right. As a racing fan, it doesn't feel right. It just, the whole stadium, the whole racetrack felt like that. It was just, everyone's like, is this seriously happening? I'm sitting there like, and I'm not a fan of late cautions, but I'm sitting there like, this can't be happening. This can't be happening. And that whole 2 laps to go, I'm like, where's the yellow flag? Like, this can't be happening. And then it happened, and it's just, I don't know. It's like, it's still surreal to talk about because I'm like, how is he not a champion? But the way I know when he broke his collarbone, like he's gone through some crazy stuff this year, and the way he handled himself, the emotion he showed shows how much he loves the sport. But then the way he handled himself after going and celebrating with his best friend 2 days later, like, I don't know. I'm a big fan of Connor Zilisch now, and I was hoping he won the championship. He was deserving to win the championship, but it just shows you what's wrong with this playoff format, man. It's just painful. It made Sunday worse than what it actually was too. So like, I know I'm glad that they're changing this playoff format because we all, as racing fans, don't want this feeling again because there's deserved winners and Connor Zilisch was one, and he left crying.
Yeah, it was very upsetting to not see Zilisch get the job done. Just had one of the most special seasons we'll probably ever see in the Xfinity Series, now known as the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. Just very upsetting to not see Zilisch get the job done. But congratulations to Jesse Love. I really liked his speech that he had at the NASCAR Awards and just everything that's happened since. And I definitely think Jesse Love is a big-time talent and probably the best driver over at RCR right now, other than obviously Kyle Busch. I would say is the best driver over there right now. So maybe he moves up within the next couple of years over up to the Cup Series and races with his best friend Connor Zilisch in the Cup Series. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. What were your thoughts on Jesse Love getting the Xfinity Series championship over his best friend Connor Zilisch, who had probably one of the best seasons we'll ever see in the NASCAR secondary series? All right. That will have us move on to Sunday, and I will obviously talk a lot about Denny Hamlin. But before I really grind my gears about Denny Hamlin and how that all finished, I do want to give my flowers to Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson, Young Money, had a fantastic season. If we were going by the 36 race format with our current point standings when it comes to stage points and all the different bonus points that we have, Kyle Larson would have been awarded the championship. I know there was some confusion about that. If we were doing the old Winston Cup points with their bonuses and the way they did their points back in the day, Christopher Bell would have won the championship. So I thought I would get that confusion out of the way as well right there. But Kyle Larson getting his second Cup Series championship, was celebrating up in New York City. Maybe should have been celebrating at the Magic Kingdom instead, but nonetheless, the driver of the number 5 for Hendrick Motorsports with Chevrolet, with, in my opinion, the best crew chief in NASCAR. I've said it for a long time, and it got confirmed just one more time on Sunday. Cliff Daniels, the crew chief of the number 5. Kyle Larson getting 3 race wins, 9 stage wins, 1 pole, 15 top 5s, 22 top 10s, 2 DNFs, 1,106 laps led on the season, and an average finish of 13.2 gets Young Money, Hung Money, his second Cup Series championship at Phoenix Raceway. Like I said, Larson had a phenomenal season. There was a big gap, I would say, from after the Coca-Cola 600 and the Indianapolis 500 to all the way maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago. There was a big span, in my opinion, where Kyle Larson did not look at all like Kyle Larson. And I thought over the last couple of weeks, we began to see the old Kyle Larson pop back out. He's been finishing up in the top 5 almost every week the last couple of weeks. Just really been putting it on at the right time and just had an overall great year. And at the end of that race, Cliff Daniels made the perfect call for the situation that they were put in and got him the victory. fair and square. I definitely also think Alex Bowman, I said it a couple weeks ago, once again, Alex Bowman, teammate of the year, didn't necessarily let Kyle Larson get the spot, but definitely gave him the room for Kyle Larson to complete the pass. So good on Alex Bowman on being a team player in that situation. But Kyle Larson getting that second career championship, right now doing the New York tour. Haven't really seen his interview from Fallon yet. I want to kind of watch that later. But I want to get both y'all's thoughts on. We'll talk about Denny here in a second. I'll definitely. I'm actually going to start with the super fan. I got to start with the super fan. Kyle Larson, Cory gets championship number 2. How were you personally feeling in the stands watching those last couple of restarts, those last couple of moves, and everything that led up to him winning the championship?
To be honest, I went all race like, nope, he doesn't have it. It's Denny's. I don't want to bring him up yet, but it's Denny's. And then he blows a tire. He goes a lap down, gets a lucky caution. And even then, I'm still like, he's out of it because then he's 28th, 20th. Then couldn't go anywhere because he's on bad tires. Then they take the 2 strategy call and he's in 5th. I'm still just looking at it like, nah, he doesn't really have a chance still. And then that caution happens, and really from the stands, it showed that he took no tires. Come to find out later, he took 2, but then he just holds him off, has that pass from Alex Bowman that you talked about, but he was almost fighting for the lead after 1 lap. And like, I don't know, it was a great restart on 2 tires, and because they had experience with 2 tires with the previous stop, it's why they pulled that strategy. And yeah, and honestly, it was surreal because I was like, he had no chance. I felt like he had no chance the entire day because he didn't have the best car. He didn't even have the top 3 best car. And came to the final lap, and he's a champion. I'm sitting there like next to my wife going, what? Freaking out. And I looked over my shoulder, you're gone. I'm like, what? Like, oh no, it was a cool moment. And like, I think through all the battles they went through this year where they started off hot, the summer, we had no idea what happened. Darlington were there and they're not even finishing in the top 20. And then the playoffs, they came back to life, resurgent. They did everything right. And they won it with this playoff format. And I don't know, as a Larson fan, I'm ecstatic. It was awesome. I'm still ecstatic. I still think he deserves it. I don't think anyone's questioning that. I just think we all had a little bit of a bitter taste in our mouth because I felt like the storyline was written and then all of a sudden it changed when Byron hit the wall. But either way, I don't know. I'm ecstatic. Larson's 2-time. I think no one's going to argue that he's not deserving of it. And I'm get to talk about it for the next 2 months.
Hopefully you won't. But I want to go to Tyler on this one. Tyler, what were your thoughts? We'll talk about Denny here in a second because I'm holding it in right now. I've held in talking about Denny until we did this podcast because I really want to give my raw emotions on this. But before we get to Denny, what were your thoughts just on Larson being a 2-time champion? He had the best season. If we had the 36 race format with our current points system, he would have been the champion. What were your thoughts on him just getting the championship and the way that all panned out for him at the end?
I mean, for any of us to sit here and say that Kyle Larson isn't the best in our sport, we'd be lying.
Yeah.
So for 100%, he earned that. He earned that. There's no saying that he didn't. For me, I thought for sure the race was over and Denny had it. I thought it was going to go green. So I had left your side, Kyle's side, and went down to the fence there.
Yep, I saw
when I got down to the fence, I was standing at the fence, and I turned and looked at you guys. And as I turned to look at you guys, Willie B hit the wall right in front of me. His tire blew, hit the wall. And in that moment, man, I've rooted for Willie. I root for owners now. I root for Junior in Xfinity Series. I root for Jeff when it comes to the 24. I root for owners. I haven't settled my heart on anybody yet, but my heart stays with everybody that's been in NASCAR since I was a kid. And this season started with me rooting hardcore for, Willie B and all that. But when he hit the wall, It was like that silence you hear in movies when somebody gets shot.
Yeah.
It was that just a ringing bell. And I didn't know what to do. Like I wanna so bad root for Young Money in that championship. It just doesn't feel right. There's no sense of it that makes me go, "Ooh, this is fun." It's just he deserves it 100%, and that's what we want, but it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And that's one thing that kind of bothered me near the end of that race is I think a lot of fans agree with Mamba. Like I do, because the end of that race really bothered me because the three loudest cheers I heard for the race were the two tire stops from Larson and Willie B hitting the wall, causing a green white checkered finish at the very end, which that just disappointed me. Even if Denny ended up winning after that, that really disappointed me. And I remember, and we'll kind of switch over to the Denny portion of it at this point, but I remember when William Byron smacked the wall and the caution came out, and I immediately turned around and went because I needed to take a massive piss. I need to go to the bathroom. So I turned around, went to the bathroom, and I'm just like muttering under my breath. It's like NASCAR's gonna fuck him. NASCAR's gonna fuck him. I'm just like it's gonna happen because I didn't really feel very happy about the caution myself either, just because there was a lot of inconsistencies. I felt like with the tires, we saw a lot of tires go down throughout the day, and I only remember two cautions. There could have been a third that I don't remember, but I only remember two cautions coming out for tires in specific going down, and that was for Hocevar, and that was for Allmendinger. Those two had cautions come out for that, and Byron hit the wall, and he was a little bit slower, but we saw that happen multiple times throughout the day and didn't see a caution. But that's just inconsistency. I wouldn't say they were, let's throw the caution on. At the moment, I was thinking that, but looking back on it, it's like they probably just threw the caution just to throw the caution because we do have inconsistencies with that. So I'll look past that a little bit. Just the way that all ended just didn't feel right. Had me thinking about the overtime rules, which we'll talk about here in a second, even a little bit. Just the way everything happened at the end of that race just didn't feel right. Denny Hamlin had the dominant car all day, led all race. Anytime you'd get the lead, would pull away by a whole straightaway. Just had by far the best car. And Larson, I would say, had a top 10 car. I would say maybe had a top 5 car, arguably. Like I said, I think Cliff Daniels really ultimately won that championship for him in that race. Just made the no-brain call, I would say. I'm surprised that Gale didn't make that call myself, just because of how good Denny was. Even if he took the 2 tires, even if he stayed out and everybody else was on 4 tires, he could have potentially still beat everybody. He was just that good on Sunday, but that's Monday morning quarterbacking or whatever the motherfuckers like to call it. But just to see everything happen with Denny all day, everything with his emotions with his dad. His dad's probably not going to make it that much longer. At least just that's the way that Denny's described it. He was crying in the car. He was crying before we got in the car. All his emotions at the awards show, everything after the race. He's thinking about retirement even at this point. I don't think he will retire. I think that's heat of the moment thing. I don't think he will retire, but he's been talking about it. I want to give Larson all the credit in the world. Larson's honestly just been a really good friend to Denny over this last week because he knew how much that meant to Denny. He knew that probably on that day with that system, Denny Hamlin deserved the championship, with a little hijinks at the end with the caution and the 2-tire strategy cost Denny the championship. Him congratulating Denny, him calling him out at the award show, just doing all this stuff for Denny, I've personally really appreciated, and it's given me a different look when it comes to Larson as a person, which I really appreciate Larson doing everything that he's done for Denny. But this is just other than deaths and injuries. I was thinking about this earlier. Other than deaths and injuries in NASCAR, I would consider this moment and the moment where Carl Edwards got his championship taken away from him as the worst moments in NASCAR history. That is, other than deaths and injuries, obviously, those are the worst moments, deaths and serious injuries. But other than those, I would consider this moment tied with Carl Edwards as the worst moment in our sport and a heartbreaking moment in our sport, because he's the people's champ. I'm seeing people that hate Denny Hamlin with the passion. I'm seeing people that are pure Larson fans coming out of the woodwork saying that ain't right. That shouldn't have happened like that. That's fucked up. Like, that's what I'm seeing from these people, which is crazy. Maybe Denny Hamlin gets cheered next year if he comes back at this point, I'm thinking. Like, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. I want to start with Cory on this. Cory, what are your overall thoughts on the way this week has happened for Denny? Do you think it's over for Denny? You think he calls it a career? Like, what do you think about it? He hasn't even done an episode of Actions Detrimental yet. We might not ever get another episode of that.
Yeah. Oh man, my POV is kind of weird because like I don't want to talk just about the championship itself, because the racing this week, other than maybe Saturday, was really good. Like, yeah, Sunday was pretty good. The tires were we didn't even. It's overshadowed the race itself.
I agree,
because I agree with what you're talking about. It was, dude. Saturday was a fucking sad moment for the sport. Then Sunday happens, and you're like, dude, like we were there for the 60th win. We felt the emotion without it actually like anyone saying a word, because everyone saw the 60th win and was like, what? And like we all appreciated the moment. We were all not, a lot of non-Denny fans were chilling there watching him celebrate his 60th win. So, but being there at Phoenix, like the tires blowing out, the tires that blew out without cautions, Larson, I haven't said his name all year. Briscoe twice blowing a tire. Like, you had so much drama. But throughout the drama, there was one consistency, and it was Hamlin was kicking ass. And that can make it boring. And that's why when you talked about cheers and stuff, like, I get the entertainment value of being a fan. But, I mean, you saw me. I didn't cheer. I was like, oh, okay. Well, now it's caution. Mm-hmm. But, like, man, it is sad. I think that's the worst part about, like, this weekend is they saw me, like, trying to cheer you up. I'm like, I'm happy. But at the same time, like, it sucks. Like I told you before the race, Hamlin wins this, Byron wins this, Larson wins this. I'm happy. It's going to be a great weekend. But Larson, or the thing that makes this so annoying is that we knew the playoff format was changing, but Hamlin took advantage of it this year and brought the perfect car to take advantage of this championship format and win this race. And just the timing was impeccably fucked up to cause him not to get a championship. And I think we all feel that as a Larson fan, as a fan of anybody in the sport. It's just a nasty feeling. It's a disgusting taste in the mouth. It's not what NASCAR's supposed to be like. It's not what the top racing sport is supposed to be like. This is the worst Game 7 moment you could create. And they did it 2 nights in a row, where the deserving driver didn't win it Saturday, and the deserving driver didn't win it Sunday. And I'm not saying deserving like Larson's whole season wasn't deserving. I'm saying for that race in this one race fucking format, the guy that deserved the championship that day didn't get it. And that's what makes it disgusting.
Yeah, it was just it was the most heartbreaking moment for me that I've seen at a NASCAR track. And I was at COTA this year when my favorite driver, Kyle Busch, almost got back to victory lane, and I was almost to tears, like mad and sad watching the end of that race. I said to both of y'all, I did something I've never done. I've been to probably almost 100 NASCAR races at this point, including trucks and Xfinity and all of that. If it was my, like, obviously when I was a little kid, there was a couple of races where I was forced to leave early to beat out traffic. But other than those, if it was my choice to stay and watch the checkered flag, I've never once in my life not watched the checkered flag. I still haven't even watched the last lap. I still have yet to even watch a replay of the battle between Brad Keselowski and Ryan Blaney. I heard it was epic. I'll probably never see it. That was one of the most heartbreaking moments for me as not just a Denny Hamlin supporter and fan, but as just an overall NASCAR fan. And like you, Tyler, with a couple of laps left, I was already thinking about how I'm going to celebrate this thing. You went down to the fence. In my head, I had a Denny Hamlin flag as a cape on. I was planning on literally sprinting down the lane like I was motherfucking Superman. You know, I was planning that out. I was so hyped about it, and then just to have that taken away was one of the most heartbreaking moments. I literally just walked back to the camp, slouched over with my Denny Hamlin flag on my back, just feeling like it got stolen from him at the time. Obviously, I look at it a little bit different now, but at the same time, it's not too far off. Just a heartbreaking moment. Tyler, what were your thoughts on this? Denny Hamlin essentially getting this taken away from him, depending on how you want to look at it. What were your thoughts on all that? You think Denny comes back for a revenge tour next year? Or what are your thoughts on all of this, Tyler?
Denny's got to come back. We can't
I hope so.
do Carl again.
Yeah.
We can't do Carl again. Like from this is coming from the perspective of somebody that completely walked away from NASCAR after 2016. I was already on the verge of it when Gordon retired in 2015. 2016 came around and it knocked the feet out from under me, and I didn't watch NASCAR again until we worked together. I didn't have any plans to watch NASCAR ever again in my life. If it wasn't for our friendship, I don't think I would have turned the TV back on. And it's only been 3-4 years now since I've been watching again. And for me, it knocked the air out of my sails again. It knocked it made me want to box my shit up again.
Yeah, I agree.
And that makes me sad, man. That makes me sad. That just, beyond all the rest of the bullshit, beyond all of it all, like Cory said, yeah, NASCAR did it twice. Man, NASCAR's done this so many goddamn times, it's not even funny anymore. It's not even, it's so heartbreaking, man. Mark Martin, you got fucking Carl Edwards, you got, the list goes on of drivers that were beyond deserving and earned their spot, and they just never got it because NASCAR decided they needed to change this, or NASCAR wanted to do that. When they introduced the green-white checkered in 2004 is when we all decided, all right, this is the first gimmick. Let's hold on tight and see if we can make it through. And it's been nothing but more and more gimmicks, let's make it game 7. Let's make sure the height of the sport was when we were racing. The height of the sport was when the people that were winning championships were deserving of it. Never once did Jimmie Johnson win a championship and any of us say that, oh, Jimmie Johnson shouldn't have won a championship. It's never been the question. But why do we got to do this gimmick? Why we got to continue to do this? Continue to rip out the hearts of people that just, like I said earlier, I'm not a huge fan of anybody. I'm here as a NASCAR fan. But this shit makes me not want to be a NASCAR fan anymore. It's hard. It shouldn't have been a green-white checkered. Let's go back to 2004 and that nightmare. It shouldn't have been that. It shouldn't have been Carl walking away in 2017 or 2016 or whatever it was. It shouldn't have been all that. And yet again, here we are. But don't get me wrong, Kyle Larson deserves the championship or what it is, if you want to break it down to what it was or whatever. But don't play this is the championship gimmick, this for this, and it's cool when this person wins, but set it up for somebody else, and then all of a sudden, yet again, another gimmick, knock it out from under your feet. That Game 7 thing that they're trying to do is not working, and it hasn't worked once. So that's where we're at. We've got a bunch of broken-hearted NASCAR fans that are trying not to box up their stuff and get through another 2 months, and hopefully Daytona comes around, and we're happy for it to happen, but I don't know, man. After Saturday and after Sunday, it's really, really hard. They better get their asses in gear and start announcing some playoff formats and start doing some things, because right now none of us are happy.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said, Tyler. That was I agree with everything you just said. That was a great like speech or whatever you had. That was everything that I'm thinking of but couldn't really get out. I 100% agree with everything you're saying. 120%. Personally, if they weren't already promising to be changing the playoff format next year and looking at doing some different things, I'd probably be right there with you. Like, let's pack up our things. Probably wouldn't be doing this show right now if we were doing the same playoff format next year, and we were going to do the same playoff format the year after that and the year after that, because it's just not a rewarding system. And it's, at the same time, technically, Larson's the deserving guy. Larson was the deserving guy, had the best season, but then you put this different system in front of us, and then you have the guy dominate the whole race, have a caution at the end, and a 2-tire pit stop decide the championship. It doesn't seem right at all. A 2-tire pit stop is the decider on the championship. That's how we're going to decide the championship. At that point, Kyle Larson shouldn't have won the championship. At that point, they should have just gave it to Cliff Daniels and be like, Cliff Daniels is the champion. He's the champion. He's the one that everybody should be talking about right now, because he's a genius for making that call. And that's what won the championship, was Cliff Daniels being a super genius, like we all know he is. And I found out he has hair on Tuesday, because I never saw his head before. But that was a genius call on him, and that's what ended up winning the championship. And I'm really happy. We're going to be trying to change this format. We'll have to see what it is next year, whether it's 36 races, whether it's back to the old chase format, whether it's a 3-3-4 with the 4-race championship series. All those are way better than what we have right now. I personally would probably prefer the old chase system with a bunch of bonuses thrown in there, or I personally prefer the old-fashioned 36 race system. And if that were the case, Kyle Larson would have won the championship anyways, and I wouldn't be bitching right now. And Tyler wouldn't be so upset either. It's just the way they've played this out. It's silly. It's just silly. And I think Tyler said it the most perfect I've heard anybody say it this whole entire week. And then you have some people out here like Mamba Smith, and I like Mamba Smith. I've met Mamba Smith. He's a nice guy, but it's not that's not the right system, bro. It's just not. And you're lying to yourself if you say it is the right system. You're not a race fan. You're not a racer. You're not any of those things. In my opinion, you're just a TV personality if you think that is the right system. That's all you are. And that is all you are, if that's what you think. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. What were your thoughts on Kyle Larson getting his second championship? Like I said, if we were doing the old format with our current point system, he would have been the champion anyway. He had the best season. He is the best driver in our sport. But with the way the system is and the way the day went, the deserving guy on that day was Denny Hamlin. Had the whole story lined up for him. And to have the championship decided by a green-white checkered finish and a 2-tire stop is what happened. But let me know your thoughts on all of that in the comments and in the replies. That was a badass speech you gave, Tyler. That was cool. That was a badass speech you gave right there.
All from the heart, man.
That was
all from the heart.
That was badass. That was badass. All right, but that will lead us right into our next topic, which has been kind of a discussion point this week. And does NASCAR need to take a look at changing overtime, aka the green-white checkered finish? And I think we've all had moments where we hate the green-white checkered finish. I think we've all had moments where it's like, thank God the caution came out. I think we've all had moments like that. Just like Tyler was just saying, we were all kind of hoping a caution to come out and force a green-white checkered when Jesse Love was about to win the championship, So I think we've all kind of had moments where we want a green-white checkered finish. But I think it's kind of came to a realization to a lot of people, including myself, that maybe the current way we are doing the overtime system isn't the right way. Should we even do the overtime system at all? A lot of people have been pointing out this week, if we had an overtime system back in 1998, Dale Earnhardt probably wouldn't have won the Daytona 500 because a lot of people forget that race ended under caution. Who knows who would have won that race if we had a green-white checkered finish? Maybe Dale Earnhardt would have never had a Daytona 500, just how Kyle Busch doesn't have a Daytona 500. He led at the 500th mile in the 2023 edition. He didn't win. Denny Hamlin would have won the championship on Sunday. He didn't win. And so it's definitely played its course in a weird way at this point. And me personally, I don't like a race finishing under caution. So I would like the overtime to stay in place, but I personally would like to change it up a little bit. That's me personally, and I forget who said it, so my apologies if they end up seeing this. But I saw somebody on Twitter give a good rule change for the overtime system that I personally really like. And it's when there is a caution to the point where it would force overtime past the full-length schedule of the race, they have one overtime session. And instead of it being a 2-lap shootout, they decide to throw the red flag out, bring everybody on to pit road, have it kind of be how they do these ARCA cautions when they have to change tires. They bring everybody onto pit road, throw the red flag out, everybody can change tires, do whatever adjustments they want to do, put fuel in or whatever. They get like 5 minutes, and that builds up the fans in the stands, that builds up the TV people, that builds up everybody and lets them kind of build up this finish here. And instead of a 2-lap finish, it's a 10-lap shootout to end the race. I love that idea. I like I said, I forget who came up with that, so my apologies. But I freaking love that idea. Instead of doing a green-white checkered finish, you get one overtime session, if you will. And it also takes out a 2-tire strategy to win the race on a green-white checkered finish, if you will. I personally would be down for that. I don't know how y'all would feel. I don't know if you don't want any. I assume that both Tyler and Cory might not even want changes to the overtime system. I've kind of been on the fence about it for a long time. Overall, I'd probably say I've leaned towards I like it, just because I don't like the race ending under caution. But them extending it in maybe a different way, I haven't really even thought of before until this guy brought it up. And I want to get both y'all's thoughts on not just the idea that this guy came up with on Twitter that I just said, but maybe do you have a different way the overtime you'd like to see? Do you not want to see overtime at all? Do you want to keep it the way it is? I guess we'll start with Tyler here, and I think Tyler, from what he previously said fuck overtime, right? Is that your analysis?
Pretty much. I mean, like, I'm fine with overtime if we can find a way to make it to where it's not a gimmick, right? Like, I don't know, a 10-lap shootout makes sense. Add 10 laps back on or whatever of your caution laps. I also don't think caution laps should count. So
we would have really long races at some points.
We would, but like at some then it's a long race. Like, I don't
Bristol,
care. I'm there to
laps.
watch a race. I don't give a shit how long. Sure, send it. Let's go. But like, I don't know, like, maybe if it's Bristol, so you add, that's when you do something like that, where it's like, add 10 laps at the end of the race, like, whatever, because we spent half of it under caution anyway. Like, I don't know, that makes sense, but a green-white checkered I've never been a fan of. You determine entirely too much off of that.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. I like I said, the green-white checker definitely makes it entertaining at times, but sometimes it just takes away really big storyline. Sometimes it just makes the end of these races sometimes a shit show. Like the unlimited green-white checkered, sometimes we'll get like 6 of them back to back to back. It's happened at Martinsville in the Xfinity series a couple of times. But Cory, I want to get your thoughts on this.
Never in an Xfinity.
Never in Xfinity. Cory, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I think we got to keep it. I just think they can. I'm up for getting rid of it in the championship race. I don't think the championship race should be decided on like how it was, on Sunday. I think that would be one way to do it. I think there's some ways. I'm for it because we've gotten so many awesome, and just this year, just the last 2 years, so many amazing highlight finishes that have made like honestly, I think live TV, like highlights, like the Larson and Buescher, that was in overtime. Chase Elliott's win this year, like a few weeks ago, that was in overtime. Like it's created so many amazing finishes that we love. Is it a gimmick? Yeah, I guess, whatever. But like, I'm more for a championship not being decided how it was. That, I think, it may get rid of it in the championship race, or if you're gonna do it, you don't count caution laps if a caution happens in the last 10 laps or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be, oh, we're doing 2 more laps. You know, I don't know. Scheduled distance in a way. There's certain things, but I'm for it. I think it's created too much amazing moments, especially with this car when we already struggle with it not passing and all this other stuff. You're just going to get so, like, you're talking about viewership and personalities and all this shit you want to start happening. You get rid of green, white checkers, dude. No, I just feel like you're going to make it worse. I get the point. The points are valid, but you're going to take another step back that this car is already taking us like 10 steps back. So, I don't know, that's my opinion. I think green, white checkers have a spot in the sport right now. I know a traditional racing fan is going to disagree like a motherfucker, but I don't know. I feel like there's a way they can do it. I just think wholeheartedly there shouldn't be green, white checkers in the championship race. That's what I would say. Like, yes, Sunday was dirty. That I didn't like that. It should have ended. There may be a 1 lap because there was 1 lap to go, but yeah, I don't know. That's my opinion.
Yeah, it sounds like we won't have a championship race next year. So I like one of the ideas you kind of had where within a certain amount of laps from the finish, maybe don't count caution laps. I guess I'd be okay with that. Maybe take green, white checkers out of the crown jewels, but then you're having different rules and different races. It kind of just muddies the water even more. So I don't know. I would like an overtime system to stay in place, but I personally just don't like the 2-lap shootout because then it makes it almost like especially with this version of car. In the old version of car, what we had at Phoenix on Sunday wouldn't have happened. In the old version of the car, it just wouldn't have happened. You would have saw what happened with Cory Heim on Friday night. That's what would have happened on Sunday. Denny Hamlin would have won the race if it's mainly because of this generation of car. Honestly, I think that's, now that I really think about it, I think that's probably the thing that's really soured me on the green, white checkered, because it takes really all skill out of it. It's just really all about strategy once there's a green, white checkered at the end of some of these races, which I'm for strategy. I'm all for strategy, but strategy just to get track position with 2 laps left, it makes it entertaining. But then when you really think about it, it's like, all right, that was kind of Mickey Mouse, you know? It's like I felt like at the end of that race with Hamlin and Larson end up getting the championship and everything that happened there. It felt like the Steelers were up by 30 points, and then they blew the final whistle on the Browns, and then they're like, all right, I know it was a 30-point gap, but we're going to overtime. And then the overtime started, and the way that overtime started was we had Caleb Johnson back there returning kicks again for the Steelers, and we ended up having a safety, and that's how we lost. That's how we lost the game, even though we were up 30 points when the final whistle blew. And it's just stuff like that, because Hamlin was dominating. Hamlin was pure domination, just whooping their ass. And just to have that happen was wild. I personally want them to keep overtime, though. So that's why it's hard for me. I want them to keep overtime. I just don't like the 2-lap shootout. And because at that point, with this generation of car, it's so hard to pass, so hard to really do anything. It's hard to even manipulate somebody from behind. It's just hard to do any of that stuff unless you completely send them. Then we end up just having everybody wreck. Then we're just having wreck after wreck after wreck after wreck. So I don't know. I think they need to change something. I do like that guy's idea of 10 laps and then if everybody wants to come down pit lane and change 4 tires, there'll be no change in the lineup. Maybe a little add on for that. If you want to stay out and not take tires, then you can jump to the front if you want. But that's if you don't want to take any tires or any fuel. You got to stay out of pit road completely. So I don't know.
Honestly,
what's up?
Just change the format and leave green, white checkers. And then once the new format's announced, just let it ride. And if a moment like this happens again where people are 1 point away, the format's going to change everything, in my opinion. It's not going to be like this. No, we're not going to be talking about green, white checkers the way we are when it's not a one race thing. When it's not, that one caution changed the championship. I feel like That's my opinion. I just change the format. We can't change them all at once.
I'd agree. I would say that's not a bad point either. Like I said, I'm still very much on the fence, but at the same time, I'm leaning towards one way because especially with this generation of car, I guess when it comes to Xfinity and trucks, I don't have nearly as much of a problem with it because usually they're going to handle themselves. One thing I definitely want them to change is the unlimited green white checkers. We didn't end up seeing a problem with that at Phoenix Raceway, and I want a race to end under green. And if you ask Kyle or Larry, whatever, from like 5-10 years ago, what he wanted, I would say no matter how many times, re-rack them and keep them going. But back then, I would say I was more on the entertainment, and it was still a brand new gimmick at that point. But at this point, it's like a lot of drivers are getting wins taken. Like I always think back to, was it Nashville when we had that epic finish with Larson and Busher? I'm pretty sure that was Nashville. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was Nashville when that happened. We almost had
Kansas.
Oh, Kansas. My mistake. But we almost had what? We almost had like Zane Smith win that race, if I remember correctly. We almost had Zane. Nothing against Zane Smith, but that was before Zane Smith really turned the corner. Zane Smith was like, at that point last year, was like what, like 32nd in points. He almost won that race because of how many cautions we had. We had like 7 cautions or 6 cautions. We had people running out of gas and stuff, and we had all these green white checkered finishes. It was entertaining, but every other motorsport in the world was probably laughing at us at that point. So one thing that they definitely need to change is the unlimited green white checkers. And I personally would like for them to take away the 2-lap shootout. But if it was still a green white checkered next year, as long as it wasn't unlimited attempts, I would be okay with it. But it's not my preference, I would say. But it's definitely gotten brought up this week with what you're saying, Cory, because of what happened on Sunday. That's why it's been a really big talking point. And I agree that's probably one of the only reasons why it's became a very big talking point over this week, I would say. And I think a lot of people will probably get over it if they keep it, just like myself. I'll probably get over it if they keep it, unless something bad happens again, unless we get like caution after caution again or something crazy, But let me know your thoughts in the comments. What do you think about the current overtime, green, white, checkered, whatever you want to call it? Do you think it should change? You think it should be taken away? You think it should stay completely the same? I think we gave 3 different opinions. Tyler wants it just gone. I want it changed, and Cory's fine with the way it is. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. All right, that lets us move on to our next topic, which NASCAR has updated some participation guidelines leading into championship weekend announced for the 2026 season. And I think this really has to pan towards how many great young drivers we have in the pipeline right now. The O'Reilly Auto Parts Series has lowered its age requirement to 17 for 1.25 mile ovals plus road course circuits. And then the NASCAR Cup Series drivers can now max out on races for the O'Reilly Series with 10 and max out on races with the Craftsman Truck Series with 8. And those are for drivers that have been in the Cup Series for 3 plus years, which has been the rule, something they never talk about for some reason, but that's been the rule. I want to get the Pacecar boys' thoughts on this. Me personally, I think this is a great move just with how many great young drivers are coming through the ranks right now. Obviously, we have Brent Cruz now racing in the Truck Series. He's of age already. But we have a lot of other young drivers like Max Reeves. We have Keelan Harvick coming through the ranks. We have a Brexton Busch way down the line. We have a lot of young potential superstars coming into our sport right now. And I think this is a really good move, I'd say, by NASCAR. Obviously, keeping it limited to the 1.25 miles and the road course, I think, is also a good move. And then, of course, them extending how many races the Cup drivers can participate in, I think, is a great move as well. I want to get the thoughts from the Pacecar boys. I guess we'll start with Tyler. What do you think about these new rules for NASCAR next year? One, about the age requirement being lowered to 17 for the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. Plus, what are your thoughts on the Cup Series drivers being able to participate in more Xfinity, O'Reilly Auto Parts, and Craftsman Truck Series races?
The age requirement thing is huge. I mean, like you said, we have entirely too many young kids coming up in the series right now that we cannot turn our backs on. And every minute on the track, they absolutely need it. So I'm all for that. The crazy part is some of these kids are going to be almost like veterans in the series before they can even have a beer. But that's here nor there. I feel like everybody's going to be sponsored by Gordon. Here's your milk. Here's your milk. But at the end of the day, that's huge for NASCAR. We need more kids involved, their friends involved. I mean, the younger the people involved, the younger the audience involved. So it's all around just a good thing for NASCAR. When it comes to the drivers being able to go more into the truck series and the Xfinity, or sorry, O'Reilly's series coming up, I think that's going to be awesome. These kids need some shaking, some little cage shaking from Kyle Larson and all these other Ross Chastains and these kids that really love to play in those series. I think they should have all rights to play in those series. I love the way that NASCAR set it up. I don't believe they're allowed to be in any of the races during the championship run.
Yeah, the
So
playoffs, yeah.
there's no manipulation with that. There's no problems with them wrecking anybody that's important. I mean, none of that becomes an issue, right? They're not going to take a win from somebody that could have won something or whatever. So at the end of the day, everybody gets a lessons learned. Everybody gets to have some fun in the racing series, and you'll get more eyes. Not that I feel like they really need it right now. I feel like sometimes Saturday's bigger than Sundays. So
Yeah.
I feel like that's a plus for the Sunday drivers at the end of the day, the more than it is anything.
I personally think it's a fantastic move on NASCAR's part to extend those races to 10 and 8. I think that's a good move. I don't think a lot of drivers are going to use it up as much as they used to back in the day, just because the current Cup car is so different from the current O'Reilly Auto Parts Series car. Those two cars are just very different. Back in the day when you saw, well, not even really back in the day, this back in the day is like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. But like you saw Brad Keselowski and Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick and Clint Boyer, they'd race like the full season. It's because those cars were pretty much the exact same. They were pretty much the exact same. But now I don't think you'll see as many Cup drivers going down into those series because of that. I think the ones that you do see going down into the series either A, want to learn more about that track. I think that's why we've seen, for example, someone like Chase Elliott or Kyle Larson just trying to hone in on their skills on that sort of racetrack, and maybe the simulation doesn't quite work for them as well as real life experience. And then everybody else, B, would be just the love of the game. You know, you have Carson Hocevar, you have Ross Chastain, you have Kyle Busch. I'm hoping to see in some more races. Maybe he gets into that Colleague Ram. I've heard some rumors. That'd be cool, you know. But seeing some of these drivers, Cup drivers that just have pure love for the game, maybe racing in one of these lower series, I think is just really cool. I think that's really cool, and I think it's good for the sport. And I hope they max out on races if they can. I hope some of these drivers max out on races. I don't see it happening, but I do think it's really good for the sport. Cory, what are your thoughts on this, on these two different rule changes? One, the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series has lowered the age requirement to 17 for 1.25 mile ovals plus the road courses, plus also Cup Series drivers can race in 10 O'Reilly races plus 8 Truck Series races. And like Tyler said, if there is playoffs next year, they're not allowed to participate in playoff races.
I think both of those make the sport better. I think the 17-year-olds, getting more of them to start earlier. I mean, they're not going to be given great rides probably, but either way, an opportunity
some of
is
them
an
will.
opportunity, experience. Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, well, I don't think all of them will, obviously. So, yeah. But that's obviously a step in the right direction. More opportunity is awesome. And then the Cup drivers getting 10 races is cool. I know Ross Chastain and SVG would probably definitely take advantage of that.
SVG for sure.
And honestly, that's just going to make the racing better. I think it's awesome to see like our O'Reilly Park drivers race against the Cup drivers, because you can see people that don't normally race each other. You see Kyle Larson racing Sheldon Creed and Justin Allgaier, and you're like, oh, this is fun. This is different. I don't know, it makes the racing better, and especially with, like Tyler said earlier, that the O'Reilly Auto Parts series is already really good. So adding Cup drivers into the mix and seeing how they handle it is going to make it even better.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think I forget who was saying about iron sharpens iron. I forget who was saying that. It's a good phrase to use for this. Iron sharpens iron. You know, this is I think it's a great. I think this is a great move by NASCAR to extend those races. Like I said before, I don't see a lot of drivers using up all 10 of those races or even half of those races, but I do see someone like a Ross Chastain, like a Shane Van Gisbergen, and that was a good point there, especially with him trying to get more experience on the ovals. I can definitely see him going down into the lower series and getting some more experience on some of these oval tracks. So I think that'd be good for some of them, and maybe even get into the trucks a little bit, because the trucks are more comparable to the Cup cars than the O'Reilly Auto Parts cars are now. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with all of that next season. Maybe what young 17-year-old drivers are able to get into some of those O'Reilly Auto Parts cars, and maybe a road course or a short track. We'll have to see next year. But let me know your thoughts in the comments and in the replies. What do you think about these moves from NASCAR, lowering the age requirement for the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series in 2026 to 17 for only the 1.25 miles plus road courses? And then the other change they have made, they've extended the amount of O'Reilly Auto Parts Series races and Craftsman Truck Series races a Cup Series driver can participate in to 10 for O'Reilly and then 8 for the Craftsman Truck Series. Let me know your thoughts on all that in the comments and in the replies. All right, and that will have us move on to our second to last topic of the day, and this is a fun one. Superman, 7-time champion Jimmie Johnson has announced that he will be racing at the San Diego street course, the Coronado Naval Base, for his own race team, Legacy Motor Club, I would assume in the 84. And he's also looking to potentially run the triple. He's trying to find a ride for the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series and the Craftsman Truck Series. I don't think Jimmie Johnson's going to have any issues finding a ride, since he's, a 7-time champion and everything. But he said it was his dream to always race in San Diego. It's right near where he grew up. So it's a really great moment and great story for Jimmie Johnson. I'm hoping he's able to perform pretty well, and I'm hoping he's able to actually be in all 3 races. Who knows? Maybe he could. I don't think he'll compete for a Cup Series victory, but who knows? Maybe if he gets into the O'Reilly Auto Parts car, he might be able to compete for a top 5 or a win. Who knows? Who knows, depending on what sort of car he gets in. I think this is really cool to see Jimmie potentially racing at, well, not potentially, but racing at the street course next year. He hasn't been in the car for a little while. So for him to announce this, I think is really cool. And I expect him to also be in a couple of more races next year. I don't expect San Diego to be his only race next year. I would expect him later on down the road to announce more races that he's going to participate in next year. Now I want to get the Pacecar boys' thoughts on this. I'll start with Tyler. I know Tyler's very fond of Jimmie Johnson. What are your thoughts on Jimmie coming back here to race at his home track, essentially, of the San Diego street course?
Crazy enough, I got the news broken to me faster than anybody else got it broken to me by my aunt that grew up right down the street from him. They're actually somewhat close, not
That's
anymore,
cool.
but they were when they were younger. So huge fans, and I am beyond excited. Like, Jimmie getting in the car, getting to race in his hometown is something that he never thought was going to happen. So this is super cool for him. And when he's excited, man, and you get a spark lit under that man's ass, who knows what could happen? I mean, like you said, it's hard to be competitive in Cup Series on Sunday, but if he can get a ride going on that Saturday afternoon, like, we might get to see one more Jimmie Johnson win. And if we did, that would be beyond cool.
Yeah, I truly think that he would compete. He has experience on street courses. He has experience in that car, pretty much. That's pretty much the Cup car from years ago. Like, he has a lot of experience in that car. He's one of the few drivers that has street course experience. If he gets in a really good race car and gets the proper practice and gets the proper work in the simulation and all this and that, I wouldn't be surprised to see him run top 10, top 5 in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. I don't expect him to compete in the trucks, and I don't expect him to compete in the Cup Series, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him compete on Saturday. Cory, what are your thoughts on this? Jimmie Johnson, 7-time, coming back next year to race San Diego. Already confirmed he'll race the Cup race, but he's going to try to pull off the triple. A guy that's semi-retired pulling off a triple is pretty insane.
Hell yeah. That's going to be awesome. Honestly, I feel like any race with Jimmie's cool to see, you know. And I mean, honestly, if we're being realistic, racing on Sunday, it's probably not. I mean, he's probably just going to be there.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But the Saturday and potentially Friday, that would be cool to see for sure. Like, because I think we all agree that 7-time is going to be competitive at some point. You know what I mean? As long as SVG is not racing on Saturday, I think
he probably will.
It'll be interesting to watch. But yeah, no, honestly, anytime you get a chance to see 7-time race, it's a blessing, you know? There's so many retired drivers right now that are not on his level, to clarify, that when they got out of the sport, you're kind of like, it'd be cool to see him come back. That'd be cool to see him come back. Dude, that's 7-time. That's awesome. And then especially being his home state or his home city, you know, like it adds even more meaning to it. So, yeah, obviously I'm excited. That would be badass.
Yeah, I think it'd be really cool to see him out there. And SVG probably will be racing on Saturday. Has SVG ever raced a truck before? Because if he hasn't, he'll probably be racing that weekend in the truck too. Wouldn't be surprised. It could be. I think they're only going to race there once. I really think it's going to be a one and done. I don't see them going back to San Diego in 2027. I think it's just going to be 2026 and then 2027. My prediction is that they're going to go to Denver for 2027. It's been talked about for quite a bit. So I think 2027, they'll probably go to Denver. So it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity potentially for Jimmie Johnson. So he wants to pull off the triple and race at essentially his home racetrack, the Coronado Naval Base, for the San Diego Street Course, the San Diego Street Weekend for NASCAR. But let me know your thoughts in the comments and the replies on Jimmie Johnson, 7-time Superman, coming back to race at San Diego. Okay. Now we'll move on to our last topic of the day, and that is silly season. Silly season has a couple updates I would like to go over for silly season. One of them is actually Cory Day has been announced to go full-time for Hendrick Motorsports in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series in the 17. Did not expect that. Expected that to be part-time, so maybe Hendrick Motorsports will have 2 cars next year. Just saying, I think they're going to have 2 cars next year. So that was something from Silly Season today. Another movement in Silly Season we saw today was Parker Retzloff has moved over to Viking Motorsports. He was talking, that's the number 99. If some of you aren't familiar, Matty D drove that car most of the year until he was abruptly let go and replaced by Connor Mozak. And I think a couple other drivers may have jumped in that car. But Parker Retzloff, and it was discussed that it was going to be an upgrade for Parker Retzloff, and me, Tyler, and Cory were all discussing that we thought that was a lateral move, but it's also been discussed that Richard Childress Racing will have a new affiliate race team with Colleague no longer being an affiliate race team. They'll have a different race team replacing them. Maybe that's Viking Motorsports. We'll have to see if that ends up developing here pretty soon. And then another thing I wanted to talk about was Corey Heim. Corey Heim, kind of confirmed by Bob Pockris in a tweet earlier, is something we've discussed on this show many times, that Ty Gibbs and Corey Heim do not like each other. And Bob Pockris was saying in his tweet that he wouldn't be able to go to Joe Gibbs Racing because of his relationship with Ty Gibbs and the way they raced in ARCA. It doesn't seem likely that Corey Heim would ever race for Joe Gibbs Racing, which is some complete bullshit. And then the other thing for silly season that we had today was Shane Van Gisbergen will now go back to his historic family number, driving the number 97 next year, released in a very sentimental video earlier today. Will no longer be driving the 88 like he did in his rookie campaign. He will be moving over to the 97 for next year. Connor Zilisch will now be driving the number 88, and the 99 is currently in limbo. Even saw Brad K respond to a fan on Twitter about the number 99. So who knows what happens with the 99? Maybe it goes back to RFK. Maybe it stays with Trackhouse. Maybe it goes somewhere else. But the 99 looks like it will not be in use next year. And now I want to get the thoughts from the Pacecar boys on some of these silly season stories. I guess I'll start with you, Tyler. Which of these silly season stories is really standing out for you here today? This is very late silly season as well. It's one of the reasons why I haven't done the Young NASCAR Superstar Power Rankings, is because we have the silly seasons developing so late for some reason. But what are your thoughts on all these silly season moves we've had announced over the last 24 to 48 hours?
And everything else is kind of making sense to me. Everything with the silly season. I mean, it's everything we had to really wait to get finalization for. I feel like Trackhouse is probably the biggest one there.
Yeah.
But I feel like Trackhouse was waiting as to respect to Daniel, right? They didn't want to be like, oh, by the way, and we're not going to have 99 on anything anymore. Like, that's in a way also respectful to Daniel, because that's the 99 built with that Trackhouse team was Daniel's whole identity.
Car, yeah.
So like, that was the first car. So let's be real with that. Like that was kind of cool to see. But the cooler part with all of that was the puzzle piece being put together for me, because on Sunday I was buying everything that was on sale in the Trackhouse hauler, which was everything. And I was very confused because Shane's stuff was on sale. And I was like, but he's not going anywhere. So now we at least have answers to that. So now we at least know it's just because of a number change. But all the numbers are more fitting and meaningful now for everybody. I mean, Ross is number 1, period. So that makes sense. I mean, you got Connor carrying on that 88 to make more of that history with that car and that number. Probably the same paint scheme, so that'll be cool. And then, the 97 going to Shane and his dad and all that history. So that's awesome to see.
Yeah, definitely a very cool moment for Shane Van Gisbergen. Only thing I was curious about, I think me and Cory talked about it a little bit before the show. Only thing I was a little bit curious about, then why have him drive the 88 in the first place? Just have him drive the 97 in his rookie campaign. But I think that was just the fact that he's driven the 88 before. He's driven the 888 before. The fact that he just drove for Junior and everything like that. I think it was some of you heard the story that Junior was talking about a couple of weeks ago with Chase Elliott with the number 9 and the number 24. I think it was a very similar situation with Chase Elliott. He was given the 24, Jeff Gordon's legacy, but deep inside didn't want that number. He wanted the number 9, and eventually he was told pretty much, but got the courage essentially to ask for that number 9 and got the number 9. And I think it was probably something very similar here. I don't know if it sounds like Shane was probably offered the number, but it sounds like a very similar situation where he's carrying on this legacy. It was kind of put on him, and Shane's just like, okay, I'll race the car. But deep inside, he wants a different number, and now he gets that number 97. So definitely a very big silly season story on that point, and makes sense on why everything went on fire sale at Phoenix Raceway. That makes a lot more sense. But Cory, out of all these silly season stories, which ones are really standing out to you?
Well, to me, I mean, I think honestly the Trackhouse one's pretty cool. I think finally knowing the number that Zilisch will be to next year is awesome. Saying 88 is kind of iconic. Going to build a legacy with that number is pretty cool. Then, I mean, you and me met Parker Retzloff on Saturday. That was cool. Yeah. So seeing him get another opportunity with the 99 and Chevy will be cool. I think it's a little bit lateral, maybe increase a little bit. I think you talked about being partners with Richard Childress. I think that'll be Haas Factory because they're going to Chevy next year. That's just my theory. But then, yeah, I think the Parker one's cool. I think that's my favorite news of the week. And then, man, you bring up Cory Heim and I just go, dang, that whole story is so dumb. But I think he knows he has a promise for next year. I'm keeping it in my back pocket. I think he has a promise for next year, and that's why he's like, I don't care what happens this year, or this next year meaning 2027, not 2026. But yeah, I mean, all the news is good. I mean, I think all silly season news is good. So, and SVG getting that 97 for his dad and for the legacy that he's leaving behind and his family's legacy. That's all of it's badass. What Trackhouse is doing over there.
Yeah, very, very cool moment for SVG for sure. And definitely some very interesting silly season stories. We still don't know where Heim's racing next year. We have no idea what he's doing. Corey Heim might not race anything. Who knows? Corey Heim, it's sad. It's sad. And we all know that Ty Gibbs is probably the most pettiest person in the garage now. We already kind of knew that. But now it's been 100% confirmed that the way Corey Heim raced Ty Gibbs and ARCA years ago is going to hurt Corey Heim's career. Like I said, Corey Heim just needs to leave Toyota. I've said it many times. Corey Heim just needs to leave Toyota. Go anywhere else. Chevy, Ford, Dodge, maybe even hit up Honda. You might have a better chance with Honda.
Dodge.
You might have a better chance with Honda in the Cup Series at this point. And they ain't even in NASCAR yet. Because, yeah, you ain't going nowhere. You ain't going nowhere with Toyota. You're just not. You're not. So, very unfortunate. But everybody let me know your thoughts in the comments on the silly season news that we had to talk about here today. Retzloff going to Viking Motorsports, the number change over at Trackhouse, Heim Time having no silly season news, and Corey Day being announced to go full-time racing with Hendrick Motorsports in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. Let me know your thoughts on all that in the comments. And right before we go, I think it wouldn't be very fair to at least bring it up, even though I think it is a little Mickey Mouse. Cory is your weekly pick champion. Cory did end up getting first. Tyler got second. I got third. Whoop-de frickin' do. Cory, what do you have to say for the people here with your championship? You don't really win anything. We probably should make up a prize for next year or have last place buy dinner or something.
We do a point change too.
We'll probably do a couple of changes because if we're being
Tyler
was the deserving champion. I'm gonna be like Kanye. I'm gonna be like Kanye. It's like Beyonce made the best album of all time.
Had the best season of all time.
Oh, he's hitting the Trump dance. I'm
the deserved champion. Just like this is the deserved champion. You know, just happens the way it happens.
We're gonna call it the Shane Van Gisbergen Award. That's the Kiwi Trophy. That's your prize. A box of kiwis. That's what.
One kiwi.
No,
kiwi.
No, he gets a box. He gets a box of kiwis. He deserved the box.
Uno kiwi.
Damn, Tyler's like you get one kiwi.
I get bragging rights. I get bragging rights for Larson and me.
How about the Cardinals though?
And logs off.
Life, right?
Hey, Jacoby Brissett's running town.
Tell me about your Diamondbacks.
Why you gotta make me cry? Come on, like you guys did on Sunday. Come on.
But that'll end up doing it for this week's edition of Hit the Pace Car. Now that we're in the off season, what our plan is to not do these every week. Either we're gonna probably do these every other week from this point going towards Bowman Gray. It'll probably be a lot shorter of shows from this point forward unless we have some crazy news. Maybe if we have something really, like we've had some updates with the 2311 FRM court case with NASCAR. If we have something big happen with that, we might hop on for that. Or if anything big happens with the news, we might hop on for that. But I wouldn't expect us to be on probably for the next week and a half, 2 weeks until not next Wednesday, but the Wednesday after. But one thing we've kind of talked about here, me, Cory, and Tyler, is we kind of want it. Well, mainly me. I'm the one that kind of wants to do it just because I want to work on my graphics. I want to work on our chemistry a little bit. And also, it gets us out of the NASCAR frame of mind a little bit. I know I honestly, I want to go up north and go camping for like a week and not think about NASCAR or Denny Hamlin or any of this stuff for a while because I'm burnt out on it. But we plan on doing a different sort of show where we're talking about other sports, mainly football. We'll mainly talk about the NFL, maybe a little bit of college football thrown in there as well. Cory and I will probably talk a little bit about basketball. I know Tyler doesn't really watch basketball, but me and Cory watches a lot of basketball. So we'll talk a little bit about basketball with the Off Track podcast or whatever you would like to call it. We're going to do that. Probably not. I mean, we might start that next week, maybe the week after that. Kind of want to set up some more graphics and stuff for that, but we're thinking about doing a separate podcast for the off season. It ends up being a big hit for some odd reason. We might carry it into the Cup Series season and do 2, but mainly just for the off season up until the Super Bowl at least, and we'll see what happens after that. But that will do it for this week's edition, at least, of Hit the Pace Car. And this episode should be on Spotify as well. I'm going to start putting all the Hit the Pace Car episodes on Spotify, on YouTube, obviously. And this will actually be on the Pacecar Boys YouTube channel. I built the Pacecar Boys YouTube channel last night, and all these episodes will start going on over there. So that will be on over there. But let me know your thoughts on everything we talked about here today. But I'm Trackside Larry. That's Tyler. That's Tyler Rhodes right there. The American high chair right there. And then we got Cory Wallbanger. Cory Wallbanger over here. Cory.
Here.
And that will do it.
Cory Wallbanger. Let's go.
Let's go. And that'll do it for this week's edition of Hit the Pace Car. We'll see you in about 2 weeks. Maybe tune in next week, and we'll be doing Off Track, talk about some football, talk about the Cardinals sucking. We'll talk about how good the Patriots are, Drake May possibly MVP, and we'll talk about how Aaron Rodgers is an old man and he's still kicking everybody's ass. So we'll talk about all of that. But let me know your thoughts in the comments about everything we talked about here today, and we'll hopefully see you next week for that or for another edition of Hit the Pace Car in a little under 2 weeks. So for Tyler and Cory, the Pace Car Boys, I'm Trackside Larry. Peace.